See, thank you. Welcome to the show, everyone. This is our AMN network, and we are live on Facebook. We are live on YouTube, and we're live on LinkedIn. Joining me today is Dr. Suzanne Verling, a dear friend of mine, and who can speak to this topic. We're actually having a conversation on the 21st century woman. And so, Suzanne, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Dr. Marino. My dear Akin, it's so wonderful to be with you, to have this discussion. I miss you, and it's a joy to be here.
It's just, we haven't actually had this chat, a chat in a long time, but
Yes.
I've followed all your work and all your, blogs and Facebook pages and all the stuff that you write. So there was no better person to bring here today than you. And
Oh,
so tell us a little bit about yourself. Like, what do you do? And we'll listen. Go ahead.
well, I have a history in clinical psychology, mental health, higher education leadership, executive leadership. You and I have had the pleasure of working together in many of those capacities. Community mental health, consulting with national and international groups around human trafficking, mental health, juvenile justice, and different things like that. Um, Lately, I think that's okay. That's a good enough introduction. And lately, I've been working with uh, women's rights
That's the part.
across the world.
Absolutely.
And yes, with there's so many changes. There's so many things that are happening, and it's very important. We have daughters and granddaughters, and systemic changes are being made, at least in the West and across the world, that that are harmful to women and will be harmful for our daughters and granddaughters. So I've been focused on that. While
Wow.
yeah.
Wow. And that's what, it's Women's History Month.
Mhm.
And I wanted to have this conversation about womanhood in the 21st century. And I just came back from a trip, actually a trip to East Africa. And so I was with the Maasai women in
Mhm.
Kenya, talked to women in Ethiopia, and then in Tanzania. There's so much going on globally when we talk about women. We're talking about women's empowerment, their emotional health, their economic health. And what do we do? Like, tell us the state of that from your purview, what is the state of womanhood in the 21st century? It's a big question, but take it from your purview and tell us what's going on.
Well, um, we in the West, I can't speak for it all over, but we in the West are going through a lot of legal challenges, a lot of changes to where women are being written out of law and have been written out of law. And it's real fuzzy. It's real hard to grasp if you have not um, if you have not experienced it directly. So um, we're not in spaces where we cannot stop men from coming into our spaces. Those are laws on the books that allows that. We have incarcerated women that have men coming into their spaces
Mm.
and are being harmed, really harmed, to the point where children are being produced and passed on to foster care. And you and I know how rough foster care is.
Mm.
You know,
Yeah.
so you know that's just one thing. But we also are in the middle of a great global economic shift where we are moving into a new economy, the fourth industrial revolution, and we have technology that's going to be taking away jobs and already have. We have biotech, biopharma, life sciences, transhumanism, the relationship, the merger of the human body with the machine,
Mm-hmm.
and the erasure of women and our parts commodified, a dollar sign put on to the woman. And so we're going through that process right now. It's almost like warfare. I consider it warfare. And we're going through a type of silencing of our voices,
Mm.
silencing of free speech. You can't even articulate what your concerns are and what your dissent is. And women around the world are being punished for dissent, as we can see in Iran, in Afghanistan, in Norway,
Mm.
in Iceland, in the UK, in Scotland, in the United States, in Canada, in Japan and Korea, women speaking out against pornography and prostitution and being subjugated in space, losing private spaces,
Mm.
the erasure of lesbians, the erasure of women's language, the colonization of women's language. So these are some of the things that we're going through.
Wow.
Yeah.
When when men talk about that, sometimes it's they see the advancement, some men, not all,
Right.
advancement of womanhood
Right.
as a subjugation of manhood,
Right.
as if we're saying, you know, as if we're saying that in order for women to advance, we
Right.
have to subjugate men or remove their power.
Right.
Is that what this conversation is about? Because I don't think that's what the conversation is
No,
about.
no, 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 absolutely not. Well, men get sensitive. We are psychologists. We're aware of womb envy. We're aware of, power dynamics and things like that. And so men get sensitive, and you'll hear women say, "Oh my God, men," and down with the patriarchy and things like that. But this is not what we're this is not what we're talking about. Although it is men that are putting these rules in place, putting these laws in place, and we have this global force that is requiring putting these laws in place and requiring our compliance with these laws. Well, men should want their daughters to have their rights and their privacy. Men should want women around them to, not be subjugated in any type of way. Mm, Women don't want to hurt or take over men. Really, at the core, violence against women, that needs to go. Human trafficking, it needs to go. When we find out about these trafficking rings and these young girls, we can't just say, oh well. Okay. So when you really get down to it, we're talking about standing up against crime, standing up against 51% of the population being written out of the law. That's not okay. So there's no, oh, let's be gentle and kind with men for that. No, that is significant. Jobs that women need to have being wiped out for a robot, or being wiped out, and men too, men and women. There are entire communities that have shuddered because robotics was brought in and men and women laid off. So
Yeah.
everything from an aide that can go into a hospital and clean a room. Oh, now they want the robot to do it. Or I was in the airport. I don't know if you've seen this, but I was in the airport where you had to do backflips to pay for the items. It was a little cafe. It was actually a big cafe, full service cafe, right where where you could board right after that. I thought that was pretty good to put it there. To erase a cashier They went through backward. They had all kind of machines for you to put your credit card in. You couldn't even swipe your credit card.
Mm-hmm.
It was a
Absolutely.
complete different. So anything to not even have a cashier.
Yeah.
So, you know,
So, well, we'll talk about technology in a minute. We'll get to tech, and we'll talk about IT and all of that, the consequences of that.
right,
Um, we'll have a conversation on that. I just did two programs. I did one on sexual exploitation last week.
right.
And
Oh,
I had a speaker who we talked about sexual exploitation. The majority of those who have been sexually trafficked and sexually exploited are women. You
right.
know, are women
Oh,
and
so sad.
children.
Mhm.
And who happen to be female too. And so, and then yes, on Saturday I had a training on domestic violence. And even though men are violated or the sexual domestic violence, it's also men also are part of the statistics, but the majority of them are women. 60 something percent are women,
More.
so we know that women have a greater risk here.
I can't see
So
you any.
let's focus on those two. First of all, let's talk about sexual exploitation, human trafficking, and domestic violence. What the
Sister, I
statistics
can't see
show?
you. I can't see you anymore.
You
I don't
can't
know.
see me anymore.
I
I'm
don't know
right
what
here.
I'm
I
doing.
can see you.
Can you?
Oh yeah, I can see you. I can see you. I can hear you.
Oh my goodness. Okay,
Yeah.
well, I can't see you. Okay. Okay. I can see you. I can see you. I can
You
see
can
you.
see me. Okay. All right.
Um,
All right, so let's have a conversation about the woman right now who is being sexually exploited, trafficked, or in a domestic violence. Well, I mean, we'll talk about gender-based violence. Women
right.
are right up there.
Right, right. Well, that's another thing. I'm so glad that you brought that up. We have laws that are being changed in the United States to onboard legalizing prostitution in many counties and many cities across the United States, and it's going to be a disaster. And it is a disaster because the women are going to be post-trafficked women who are driven into destitution, prostitution, and also will be trafficked into prostitution as these laws become more relaxed and welcoming of pimps. you know
Mm,
so that
wow. So there are laws right now on the books
that's right,
that would like to legalize
right.
prostitution. We've changed terms now, terminologies. We're not even saying prostitution, we're saying
Sex,
uh sex workers.
that's right,
And the sex workers is coming from the women also who want to say, look, we want to own the space, and if I want to be a prostitute or a sex worker,
right,
you should not,
right, right,
prevent me from doing that. So we're
right,
talking, it's a gray area. Look, we have to define the terms, because there are women who say, look, I want to be a sex worker, but there are people who are being trafficked every day,
right,
and there are people who have been forced
right,
into that space.
right, right, right.
So there has to be
Well, here let's be careful with language. When you hear women or men, because men will jump in and defend it, I'm like, baby, are you doing it? No, you're not doing it. So hush. But when you hear the word some, that's inaccurate. Okay. No, the majority are trafficked, driven into destitution, prostitution. So, yeah, they choose it, but they're driven into it by
Mhm.
economic forces that pay women less, blah, 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 all of that, and who will be currently trafficked and beaten into smiling and saying, I like it. I want to do this. This is my choice. Okay. And it's a few. Women are not, you're not going to see upper middle class women running to the brothels. You're not going to see middle class women running. You're not going to see women running to it because they like it and they choose it. But that's the narrative. So we have to be mindful of that. We have some books in the school curriculum today in the United States and in Canada. I haven't found it in other places where the book has a chapter on sex work for kids in K through 12 education.
Wow.
Okay, the grooming, the grooming. And now we have to be careful of the term sex work. It is not work. It's not work. So that, oh, it's like working at McDonald's, right? Then the woman is the French fry. Okay,
Oof.
she ain't the worker. Okay.
Girl.
Mhm. Sex work, you have to be very careful because the word work has legal implications. It has legal implications. Okay, it gets legalized. Does that mean women have to sign up to do prostitution before they can get their unemployment? Will the law get stretched that far? It's very possible. They mouth it and whisper it to women in European countries. They'll say it. And the women who have gotten out of prostitution, who are now abolitionists and activists and writing books describing what it's really like, they'll tell you. Folk will say, "Why don't you go to the brothel?" Or a girl gets a bad grade and it starts to get into the culture. It starts to get acculturated. You doing bad in math, you better study hard or it's the brothels for you.
Mm.
So it becomes normalized that the woman can be so easily commodified. Just go to the brothel. Oh, just go. Oh, just do
Well,
that.
that's just a way.
Oh,
Look,
do that.
something happened. I experienced something in my travels this past month when I was in like, in East Africa.
Ah,
I saw something in a few of those countries where there were white older men with very young
yep.
African, I can't even say women, but maybe they're
Girls,
over 18,
girls,
you
no.
know,
Mm-mm.
you know,
Yeah.
and I thought, wait, what's going on here?
Right,
Like, and I kept seeing it. Uh,
right.
it's a commercialization of sex, and it's poverty. Basically,
That's
it's
right.
poverty
That's right.
because now if I don't have money, and then of course when I wrote it on my social media, Africans responded and said, look, it's not just happening with white older men, it's happening with black older men,
Oh yeah.
African older men with
Everybody.
this
Yeah,
young girls.
that's
It
right.
is the what's happening is poverty.
And it's
They
all
go
over
with
the
this man
world. Mhm.
because there's no money. And
Right,
that is how they get their money. And so
right,
women are saying, so what do we say to this? I mean, we're talking about 18-year-old, 19-year-old girls, maybe even younger.
right,
Eh, So
right.
what do they do? How do we empower them? What is the message to these girls all across the globe
Well,
that
it
makes
is.
sense? You
Well,
understand?
that's
Go
right.
ahead.
But let's talk to men. Why do you need to purchase girls? Why do
Mm,
you get yourself all gassed up, juiced up, looking at horrendous pornography, and then you run into the brothel saying, "Oh, I want that. I want this. I want to try this." Why must it be that way? And as a nation, as a county, as a state, as a nation, as a globe, why can't we take the dollar sign off of the woman? You are a
mm.
man.
Ooh.
You wake up a certain way. Go to the bathroom. Why do you need to go to a drive-through brothel? Why do you need to go to, and we are all grown as we're listening to this, I'm going to say it, a blowjob bar? Uh, why do we need to go to a cafe where you can order a woman and she runs out and you sipping on your coffee while she's servicing you?
But Suzanne, they're not. This is even bigger than that. They're going to college campuses.
That's
They're
right.
going to
That's right.
high school campuses. So this is not like even going
Like
to a
like
brothel.
recruiting? Do you mean
Yeah.
recruiting? Well, of course. Well, and then what happens is red light districts get set up and all of that. But a university, how dare you take the girl's money for tuition, and then you're going to talk to her about prostitution. How dare you? You sending a message, girl, there's nothing out there for you. We're going to take your money for the tuition, but there's nothing out there for you. But you're born female. You're born female. So go ahead and use your body. And we have to understand, we got a lot of girls that are in debt bondage, prostitution.
Mm-hmm.
We have girls where the man drives the girl across a border and says, okay, now you owe me. So that's another form of debt bondage. So depending on your culture, depending on where you are, Eastern Europe, Asia, Philippines, the African continent, whatever it is, there's always some way to tie up the girl. I want you and everybody to understand, the girl does not own it. You can verbally articulate, I could do what I want. I do what I want with my body. Well, I have no choice but to sum up. Da, 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 da. Well, everybody takes money before the girl gets the money. Okay. She doesn't own the real estate. She doesn't own the strip club. She doesn't own the brothel. She doesn't own the escort agency. She doesn't own it. So men set up, and some women, because I know people get upset.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Men,
Yeah.
you know, we have women that are, you know, in leadership in that too. So mostly men, because they have the physical power to, you know, move females and put them in trucks and vans and blah, 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 and assert the force that'll make the girl say, okay, well, I have to comply. But there's women in that leadership too. Okay, well, you have to pay for all of that. Okay, so girls pay, and females and women pay to play, so to speak. You don't, they don't own OnlyFans. They don't own a brothel that's going to take 50%, or escort agency that's going to take 50%. So yeah, you could, yeah, my body, my choice, and all that stuff that comes out of the far left. Oh, it's work. It's just like work, like just like being a lawyer. It's just like working in a mine. No, it's much more than that. It's much more than that. It's not.
I love your statement. You said take the dollar sign off the woman.
Take,
you know, like so that is the onus is on the man. Then as the woman, though, do we not have what do you say to a woman who is in this space, though? Well, and I just want to be clear, it's not just commercialization of it. I'm saying this is like everyday life.
That's right.
You know, like, okay, I have the money, and so I can pay your school fees. I can buy you a house. I can do all of this stuff for you. All you have to do is look pretty and be by my side. So it's not just commercialization in terms of the brothels. There's so much more. It's becoming a thing, a way of life.
That's right. It's soaked into the culture that it's normal and that it's totally okay. That lets you know that we are being brought, all women, drop and drop and drop and drop in value. All women, even if you're not involved, because men can now look at you in your parts. We're already like that with biotech and biopharma. They use our body parts to do all kinds of things. We're not even aware of it. And in religion, different religions were talked about in a commodified way, but it's glossed over like it's supposed to be nice and respectful. But in this world of pornography and prostitution, and I use the word prostitution, or I say destitution, prostitution. I'm not going to say work, because it can have legal ramifications. Do not put it past men. Don't put it past men to put laws in place where they tie work to unemployment. Don't think they won't do it. If they will look you in the eye and say it's okay for a grown man to come into your daughter's bathroom, okay, or to legalize rape in prisons, don't think that they won't mess around and make women go. Because what happens, what we're seeing in other countries like Germany, for example, and in different Asian countries, Thailand, Malaysia, and the women that are trafficked out of Romania and Ukraine and different things like that, you run out of girls. You run out of women, and you have to start sourcing. This is why United States is talking about it. Okay. And you girls, you hear all these women, oh, sex work is work. I choose this, blah, blah, blah. But when it gets hopping, when it gets rocking and rolling, you grind through girls. They grind through like a meat grinder and get tossed. Okay. It's not some, it's maybe a few can handle it. Maybe a few can do it. A few will say, look, this is the only way that I have to live, blah, 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 blah. But on a systemic level, on an institutional level, the girl becomes like ground beef, and you have to go through girls, go through female, go through, go through, go through. So it's not pretty. It's not, and I know it's not just the brothel, but it is not just a girl. When it becomes institutionalized, you're talking about counties, cities, states, and nations that want to look at it to add to their GDP. Prostitution is counted. Yeah, Austria, Switzerland, Germany, UK, these nations, they could say, well, we estimate Malaysia, Thailand, they can estimate that it adds to their GDP. It's a real estate business. The women are not benefiting this way. It's a real estate business. It's a tourism business. So
Tourism.
that's right.
Yes.
That's right. If a man knows, if men know, oh, word on the street, it's legal in California. It's legal in Alaska. It's legal in Washington. Ooh, fresh, a fresh territory, and it's legal. So that means if I fly in from another country, I'm safe. I'm safe. I'm not going to end up in a foreign prison.
All right.
Okay.
Okay.
So it becomes a tourist business.
What do we do as women, though? How do we take this power back? Because I'm all about finding solutions to this.
Right.
What do we do? Starting from the micro to the macro. What do we do as a group, as individuals, as communities? What do we do? Where do we start from? How do we empower our girls?
One thing is we have to fight at the institutional level. We do. We have to fight at the institutional level. Now, I'm going to try to say this as careful as possible. We have to stop just relying on sad stories, on the personal story. Oh my gosh, this is what happened to me. We know, and it's important to say it, but any argument against how our daughters are commodified is to not only tell the personal story, the sad story, but challenge the institutions. Why do you want this? No, we don't want this. It is not okay that we can't have an economic system that sustains all of us. We have land that can grow food. We can manufacture our clothes. We can have these types of jobs, those types of jobs. Don't throw it up to the robot. Don't throw it up to AI. Don't throw it up to the machine. Don't throw it up all over the place. We need jobs. And we have a right to a dignified life. You can't tell a girl, oh, you could just do it. Oh, you could just have sex with 7 to 10 to 15 men a day. Oh, it's not a big deal. It's a big deal. Okay. And so if our economic systems were inclusive of women, in a respectful, dignified way, we are 51% of the population. You can't look at 51% of the population and just be like, oh, yeah, go ahead, use your body to make money. It's great. It's just like work. No. Where is the dignity? Where is the respect? You challenge the governments and you stand together. Now, sex workers, quote unquote sex workers, some of them I think are paid operatives to be very aggressive in county meetings and community meetings about that. Sex work is work, and they want to do all that. You hate us. You're a swerve. You're against us. You're trying to impose your religion on us. Nobody's doing that. We just don't want to see it institutionalized. If you are if you're out there, if you're a woman out there and you have 2 or 3 sugar daddies and nobody knows about it, I mean, that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about the institutionalization of the commodification of the woman or the girl because she is born female. Oh, she's born female. These are the things that we can do to her. Girl, I mean, it's crazy.
It's crazy out there.
Crazy out there. Like, I'll just give an example that has nothing to do with prostitution. We have where when you go in for surgery, you're born a woman, you're born female. Okay. You go into surgery and you're under anesthesia. Okay. Well, obstetrics and gynecology students can come in and examine you. Do an examination. Could be 5, 10, 15 of them come in. You're under anesthesia having surgery on another part of you, and there are all these students all up in your business, examining your vagina, having conversations about color, discoloration, blah, 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 and it could be this, could be that, blah, blah, blah. And they all practice putting the speculum inside of you. I hope I said that right.
Okay.
And you don't even know. You don't even know.
However, here's a counter argument for that. Those will happen in teaching hospitals.
Mhm.
And if you're going to be a patient in a teaching hospital, you sign something.
Of course.
You're going to sign some
Yeah.
kind of contract that says that they can do that. And
Right.
somebody will say, well, it's a body part, like you bring teaching students to examine, your elbow,
Right.
or something.
Right.
So that is the argument. What you're saying is there's dignity to
Right.
those areas that should not be
Right.
treated like other parts of your body. If I'm listening, if I'm getting you right.
Exactly. And
Okay.
women have come out of the anesthesia, the surgical, and then they feel trauma symptoms. They feel, why am I
Violated.
bursting into tears? Because it's like a rape. It's a rape. And they wake up and they don't understand what is going on. Now you have me sign this thick document. This is what's really rough for women.
Which you didn't read.
Who's reading it? You're
Yeah.
going, Lord, child, let me wake up from anesthesia. Let me live. Let me not leave my children to struggle without their mom. Oh my goodness. That's what's on your mind.
Yeah.
Other things are not on your mind like that. You sign it and you don't realize they could harvest parts from you. They can bring in students to be all up in your woman business. They can do, anything. Then there's rape in the operating room, like women being penetrated while they're having a C-section or while they're having some type of surgery. It's just like, it's a little bit, it's more than a little bit. It's quite the free-for-all on the woman's body.
So the woman's body, the woman's mind,
Yes.
the woman's money.
That's right.
And the woman's political power. Okay, so coming from a strengths perspective, right? You're raising daughters. And you are somewhere in Malawi, or you are in downtown LA, or you are, I don't know, from the ghetto to the penthouse, wherever you're at, but most particularly the lower socioeconomic groups. What do you do? Where do you start? Because everything you've narrated, everything you've communicated today just looks like it's stacked against us.
Right.
We are powerless in this. Apart
Right.
from the fact, one thing I can say is maybe we need to start getting more involved in legislations and politics and things like that. That's one thing you can do. And then you tell us some other things, please.
Well, women need to stick together. Okay. So we can't look at each other like you can't, we have to stick together on the issues. Don't argue and fuss. Stick together on the issues. Don't fuss with each other. We have to stick together and we have to hear each other's voices. So let's say there's 10 of us and we're like, you know what, we're going to defeat this. We're going to try and get a ballot measure up and block the legalization of prostitution. Another thing. Okay, let me finish this thought. We have to stick together and say, okay, this person's going to tell the personal story. This person's going to tell a personal story. This person's going to talk about how it's a business that benefits everybody before a dollar even touches the woman's hand. This person is going to talk about how women cannot, it cannot be sustained. Yeah, there's a few that hang in there over years and years and years. It's not the majority. Okay. If it's just work, then upper middle class women would be running to do it too. So it's not, and come together, put together a team, and stick and stay the course, stay the line, and push against it. Because as this economy rolls out and more jobs are absorbed, there's always, people say, well, more jobs will come, but there's no plan. Not what happens is an idea springs up, but there could be 10 years between losing a whole town that builds cars, and that industry of building a car used to feed the whole town, is gone. Well, is there a 5-year gap? Is there a 10-year gap?
Mm-hmm.
Is there a 20-year gap? What happens without planning? What happens? Okay, so we can say that. Okay, we can say, oh, more jobs will come. We're industrious, we're inventive, but what about the in between? This is where women are, well, I got to get an OnlyFans account, or maybe if I just go on 1 or 2 dates. Or, okay, so, and we have to understand what prostitution and sex work and whatever it is does. It's not for the woman. Okay, anything related to prostitution, every woman should go, what does this mean for the pimp? What does this mean for the pimp? The pimp actually comes first in all law and legislation around prostitution.
All right.
The pimp comes first because it legalizes pimping. It decriminalizes pimping. So we don't think that. We're so busy running around saying, my body, my choice, sex work is work. And we have these mantras and we say them over and over and over. And then women get to arguing with each other. Meanwhile, the pimp lobby is over here on this side going, yay. It legalizes pimping.
Look.
It legalizes pimping. It
Thank you.
decriminalizes pimping.
Thank you, Dr. Verling. When we're talking about empowerment, when we're talking about empowerment, it is imperative that we all accept this notion of collectivism, this togetherness. You said we should stick together. Women need to stick together. This is the village mentality. This is the village concept. This is like we're in this together. One of the things I saw in Ethiopia when I was there, Ethiopia is known for coffee making. They have great coffee, and the women usually, do the work in terms of packaging it and stuff like that. And I went in there with trying to do trauma care, and that's one thing. I found that you cannot do mental health in these nations without a social empowerment, without some type of structure, because if they can't even find something to eat, and you're talking about trauma, what?
Right.
Yeah,
We
this
know
is
that.
something that they do that I really liked. During that process of tea making, they actually turn that into some type of therapeutic process where they talk about their own businesses, what's going on in their homes, what is happening to the girl down the street, what do we need to do to help this? So they are together. And I said, are there men that said, no, it is just women. And we are able to talk and collaborate and help each other. I think that when women start to empower even older women, not necessarily even in age, but just in status, you've made it in your world, reach back out and pull somebody else. In those internship positions, mentorship, if once you are being empowered, then empower other girls. That's the way this is going to work. It's going to take a village. It's going to take all of us at the table. Go ahead.
I'm going to pause and just talk about the term empowerment before going back, because you describe almost like a matriarchy, where women, okay. We have to be careful as women with ideology and ideological forces. Okay. You see, we just had a conversation about how the woman's body, put a dollar sign on it, it's totally getting normalized in high school and college, and in the laws that are being made. Yeah, sure, yeah, sex workers or prostitution. We have to be careful of the word empowerment. Empowerment has actually become a term that helps subjugate women. Okay?
Tell us
So
about it.
for example, pornography. I could go back to prostitution, but people say, "Oh, it's empowering, it's so freeing," or oh, you're kink shaming. There's a pornography video of a woman tied up and beaten and tortured. Oh, you're a kink shamer. Da, 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 da. The term empowerment has gotten twisted to where it could mean that it's a good thing that you are doing something, or that you are participating in something, or that we want you to participate in something that hurts women as a sex class. Okay, so normalizing the commodification of a woman in pornography and prostitution and commercial surrogacy. Oh, it's so empowering. Meanwhile, you don't know where that baby going. You don't know what's happening to that child. Okay. That we have been groomed into finding the joy inside, that we have been groomed into finding or thinking it's good what's happening to us inside of our subjugated spaces. So you're poor, dirt poor, you're in this space where you have to do things that a middle class and upper middle class woman would not do. Nobody would do. You don't want to do it, but you're getting manipulated into saying it's good. This is great. You're free. You're sexually free. Everything is out there. And then it gets labeled empowering. And then it fools the mind until after you're like, wow, I have trauma symptoms. I'm in a lot of pain. My body is bruised. I'm having PTSD. I am, I feel terrible, and I have nothing, and et cetera, et cetera. You realize after that you've just been in this juiced up space to make yourself, to make women and girls feel like something that's not good is good, like to find good in your subjugate.
Yeah. So basically, disempowering is an empowerment.
That's
so basically, we're using the word empowerment to actually disempower people in those spaces. All right. So what should we use? What should we say?
Now, what you just described, that's empowerment. That's empowerment. What you just said. We could articulate that term. We could say that. Yeah. But when people, these things that commodify us are not empowering.
Yeah. So we have to be sure. We have to define our terms.
Absolutely. And you have people that put that message out there. You have billionaires and millionaires that put the mantra out there, put the message out there, and then people start repeating it and repeating it and repeating it. My body, my choice. Sex work is work. It's just this thing that you just keep saying over and over and over. I've been in fusses with women who said, stop putting your religion on me. And that's another mantra. Oh my God, you religious zealots. You Christian right religious zealots. And I've been like, baby, I have not even mentioned a biblical passage. So they have these mantras ready to go to argue, that kind of a thing.
So when we are, in order to take care of each other, we have to see each other clearly.
Right. That's right.
I have to actually be knowledgeable about what is going on with my sister and myself, because sometimes I see me through you. And so it is important for us to be very clear about who we are, what is happening institutionally as well as personally.
Exactly.
That's what you've clearly described today. Hey, ladies, this is what is going on.
Right.
Let's get this clear first.
That's right.
And then we can decide on how to move forward.
That's right.
So
And,
thank
and,
you for that.
and Dr. Marino,
Yeah.
data is important.
Mm-hmm.
Data is important. Don't be fussing with these people talking about some and me and my choice and maybe and some. Data. You have, back to prostitution just for a minute, you have the age of entry into the commercialization of sex, sexual exploitation, blah, blah, blah. It's 13, 14. So come on, that's a crime. So here it is, we're talking about the glorification of something that starts out as a crime. The majority of females enter because a criminal act is occurring. So it's not like you went to college and got your, undergrad in, business administration. No, it starts out as crime and exploitation.
I want to talk about language and communication. Because you did say data is important. Let's talk about how we actually address these things in business sectors or political forums and things, et cetera, et cetera. Data is important. Research is powerful. Studies can, give you the stats that you need. I remember when I was in the vice president of academic affairs, and I used to have conversations with the suits. They'll come in and they'll say, where's your campus, why did your campus do this and this, and I will tell stories. I'm a psychologist, and I'll be telling stories. The student did this and we did that, and that we were not communicating, Suzanne.
Exactly.
There was no communication because I'm having this qualitative conversations and they wanted to talk about numbers. So some of my friends came and said, look, and said to me and said, look, Ken, they're not hearing you.
Right.
They are not hearing you. You need to speak their language. And I was like, what is their language? She said, talk about numbers.
That's right.
Talk about 60% of this, return on investment, this and do that. And I began to speak the language. When I got on there, I was like, okay, this is how many students we have. This is this percentage that did this, and and now we're having a conversation.
Exactly.
So in the same way, let's talk about women, especially when we're talking about changing systems.
That's right.
We're talking about changing systems. You need to know what the stats are. You need to know what the data is in your area. You need to be able to articulate this and speak to them in a I don't want to remove emotions either, because that's who we are. But you have to be able to present it in a way that is globally and statistically relevant.
That's right.
Does this make sense?
We are pushed to the side when we only speak from an when we talk about the emotions and the experiential aspect of something.
Absolutely.
And can you imagine if we stuck together? We could be like, you know what? We're 51% of the population and we're not voting for you. And that's that. And we have the numbers and we're not voting for you. We're not doing that. Or we're 51% of the population and we do not approve of you invading that nation. We don't approve of our money going like that. We don't approve of what's going to happen to the women in that nation after you. We're done with that. We're done with y'all doing stuff like that. Or, you know what? You see this industry right here? Yeah, we know you want to bring the robots in, but we don't approve. We have to do, because here are the consequences. Okay. Absolutely. Or like in Africa, I'd be like, you know what? Africa done been through too much. We got all these resources. Stop making up excuses. And let's get some serious money in a fund, a foundation, an investment vehicle to grow some money for the woman, and don't have the woman out on the street like this. Don't do that. Africa has been through too much to still be going. Stop with the excuses, man. No, but European forces. No, baby. Nope. Nobody.
Here's what I'm going to encourage. Go ahead, Suzanne. Go ahead. Finish.
No, what? I lost you again. What's going on?
I can hear you. I can hear you clearly.
And see me?
I can hear and see you.
Okay, there it is. I don't know.
Okay, you found it again. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's the forces. Look, the forces are trying to get us away from each other. Ah,
Uh-uh.
look,
Feminine
here, look.
power. You can't. Feminine power.
Yeah, we have light on our side. We thank God
That's
for that.
right.
Look, here is a message, and I think if you're listening to us and you're a woman, and you're from, I don't know where you're listening from. It could be you could be somewhere in Tanzania. You could be right here in Los Angeles or somewhere in uh, in Australia, wherever. Look, being a woman is a gift. Yeah, being a woman is precious. And we all need to just own that, and that we're all in this space together. I would like to just say that there is something you can do. Don't feel helpless. Don't feel as if this is just too much. I don't know where to start. I told you about there's a woman that I was told that who has been she's a ophthalmologist, and she has been spending her money for the past 30 years in a small village in Ethiopia, and she has been just doing surgeries for free and empowering them. She actually trains the people to help her when she's doing the surgery. I think that's empowering. So
Absolutely.
whatever you have, find a group, find some girls, find some women that you can surround yourself with and actually pour into their lives.
That's
Because
right.
once you change one woman's life, you might as well change an entire community.
That's right.
And womanhood does not replace fatherhood. That is not what this conversation is about. We're not saying
Oh,
we don't
no.
need men. We're not saying that fatherhood is nothing. We're saying that we can both be powerful.
That
We can both be strong. And the stronger
Mhm.
we both are, the better for our nations, the better for our families. That
Listen.
that is a message out there. Go to school. I think education is important. Get some type of training. On the web right now, on the internet, there are free schools. Nobody should say I can't go to school because I don't have money. When I was with the Maasai group in Kenya, one of the things because that was a concern, we want our kids to go to school, but we don't have the money. Online there are free schools, like free of charge, where you can go to school, you can go to university for free. So please find those sites that you can utilize. And if there's anybody listening who would like to participate in community work, and mentoring a student or a girl, we have our African Black Women's Congress that has, that we started years ago. So then you know about this. Reach out to us. We would link you together, and you will be a part of this. I just wanted to say that, Dr. Verlin, go ahead.
Oh no, no, absolutely. And one of the things that women have to be very careful about is a slow massaging, patting us on the head, um, gaslighting, little thing to try and get a position. We take a position and to try and get us off of that position, for various reasons. That's another reason why data is important. So, hello everyone, hello government, hello county government, city government, da da da. We're 51% of the population, and you allocate these monies over here, but it's not working. So let's reconfigure. You know why? Because these are our tax dollars, and we want to see more housing. We want to see more care from health and human services, from law enforcement, from mm, all these various sectors. This is billions of dollars in funding. And you know what? It's starting to look like a business. It's starting to look incentivized for these
Mm,
problems we're having. And that's not okay. Let's nip it in the bud. Okay. Everybody and their mama funded to do something for foster kids. That's just an example. But there's no housing.
mm.
Everybody's got funding to talk about human trafficking and to da, 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 and there's no housing nor security
Security.
against the pimps that are
Absolutely.
coming to look for them to but to bring them back into making them money. So it's like, we have a right as women to say, hey, let's do a little conference among ourselves so we could teach each other some things instead of arguing. Let's get together, let's teach each other what are the facts, what's going on, where's the funding, and let's say, no, 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 we're not property, we're not little girls. We are members of this society, and these are the crimes that we want to see go away. We want to see attention paid more to X, Y, and Z. We want to see more funding. We don't want to see everybody get a contract, everybody make money, everybody got money in their retirement off of these problems, except for the direct needed recipient of services and protections.
We have a question from an audience member.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you for that. And we only have a few minutes, really. The question is, what can a woman do to show she is not for sale?
Right. Well,
That's a big one.
why do men want to go and ask, are you for sale? Come on now, leave the child alone. These are institutional issues. There is nothing you can do. I saw something in Iran. I saw it on Twitter. No, I'm sorry. I saw it on a documentary on Netflix. It was a Netflix documentary. Okay. And it was in Iran. This man had girls and he was selling them. And they were wrapped up black head to toe. Couldn't see the mouth, couldn't see the forehead. All of this was wrapped up. How could she possibly be looking like she's for sale? So we can't be twisting ourselves and doing backflips. You could have the whole, I don't know the right thing to call
hijab.
Hijab, but there's other terms too. Okay, so the from head to toe, and the girls was just looking out. All they could do was sit there and look out, and he was selling them. He said, "Oh, you can touch their breasts, you can touch their bodies." It was right there on a documentary. And then you have a girl that has on a t-shirt and shorts. You have a woman in a suit. There are women on the East Coast where little counties in the United States on the East Coast where some counties are experimenting with decriminalizing prostitution, which is a term that fools you. And women are coming home from their nursing shift, no makeup, exhausted, their tags still on, blue outfit, the blue nursing thing. And because that area was decriminalized, men start to think, ooh, all the women here are available. So that's what happened. All women get disrespected. There's no, all women lose their value when the area becomes considered okay for prostitution. And these women are getting slammed up against the wall.
Yeah.
The breast grab hand go right between the legs and they're like, what are you doing? Well, how much are you? So you can't do anything. We have
the onus. So you're saying the onus can't just be on the woman.
Absolutely.
Because it's an institutional issue. Right. It's a systemic issue.
It's a systemic issue. It's a belief that the woman is a commodity. Look how laws are changed without the women's permission. Mm-hmm. You're just going to change a law without the woman's permission. That means you have picked her up, piece of property, and moved her over here. Or you renamed her. Oh, we renamed you. Oh, don't worry about it. Don't be mad about it. We just renamed you.
So
that kind of thing.
Thank you, Dr. Rawlings, because we have to round it up. What are your final words to the girl who's listening to us, who might actually get this message? What's your final words to them?
Don't let anybody groom you into thinking that you are a product, that you are a commodity. Don't let anybody talk about your divine feminine as a woman porn a female like it's no big deal, like you moving around a hamburger and french fries in a McDonald's. No, you are precious. You are the divine feminine. You decide how things go. Don't let anybody can groom you into some mess. Find other women that are like-minded. And guess what? Men too. Men should not want women to be purchased for $5 on the street. Men should not want that kind of world too. And to understand, look at data, look at information, make good data informed decisions, and fight your erasure and fight your commodification. Period.
Thank you so much for that. On that note, we've talked a lot about sexual exploitation, honestly, in
Yeah,
this show today. We have to bring you back and talk about some other things.
absolutely.
Just so we are all aware, no matter where you are in this space in the world, that you are not a product to be, or a property to be moved from one place to another, that you are valuable, that you are been divinely created for the time as this. There is a reason why you're a woman. Celebrate your womanhood, your girlhood. You are a treasure. So let's treasure each other. Let's
Right.
know who we are. Let's walk as if we are, divinely here, like you said, and help each other. Help that girl, help that woman, and with one voice, we actually can produce mass effect.
That's right.
With if we all speak with one voice. Thank you for spending this time with me, Dr. Susan Verling, and I appreciate you, and we actually invite you back next time.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Dr.
the
Marina.
audience,
Thank
for
you.
staying with us. Thank you. And give us one quick second. Everybody's saying thank you. We have a lot of comments saying thank you, Doctor. Thank you. All right, we're going to end the broadcast. Please hold on.